Good evening and welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum for the position of Mayor of Sault Ste. Marie. I'm Linda Stetzer, and even though you can't hear me? Oh, okay. Someone told me how to use these, but I'm a new one. I'm Linda Stetzer, and I'm the moderator for this evening. I'm a very disinterested party here because I live in Sioux Township. So I can't vote for either of these people, nor would I be able to vote next week when we have a candidate forum for the City Commission. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We neither support nor oppose any candidate or political party. We do not take a stand on issues without a thorough study. The League of Women Voters stands for Informed Voters. Go to vote411.org for information on candidates and ballot proposals. Any event sponsored by the League of Women Voters will be conducted with the utmost respect for neutrality and nonpartisanship. Our intention is to conduct a public event with fairness and even-handedness. Kaylee and Allison are the timekeepers, or do I have that wrong? And Kelly, sitting right here, is the question screener. Charlie is the volunteer who will be picking up your note cards. I guess I was uninformed.
My fault.
Caleb is, I know Caleb is the greeter, and he met you at the door and handed you some rules and regulations. And Paul and Amy are the people who are recording this forum for tonight. If you're 17 right now and you will be 18 by November 5th, you may register to vote and vote. The polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Check your voter registration at the Michigan Secretary of State's website and get your information at the League's one-stop voter tool, vote411.org. Also new to this election day is a for no reason voting absentee ballot. You may get an application at the city or county clerk's office or online at michigan.gov/vote. We also have applications for absentee voter ballots on the back table, which was there when you came in. Thank you to the staff of Bayliss Public Library for helping us put this forum together for you. And thank you all for attending tonight's forum. We look forward to a really lively discussion about issues important to us as people who are interested in voting. Thank you to the candidates who came tonight, and also that they stepped up and decided to run for official democracy office. Democracy takes sacrifice and courage, and people who run for office exhibit these qualities. And before I introduce the candidates, let me review the ground rules for this evening's event. You all were given a sheet of paper that was twice as big as this. And I just want to let you know that all cell phones are to be turned off or put on silent. If a call comes in that you need to take, please take it out of this room. There are no candidate campaign materials allowed in this room. They're on the table out in the vestibule. There will be no flash cameras, nor motor-driven cameras or any other visual or sound recording devices allowed in the forum room other than by the forum sponsor. The audience will refrain from any vocal reactions for or against any candidate or statements made by the candidates. The audience is requested to remain silent during the forum to maintain this oasis of neutrality. Please applaud at the very end when I ask you to. You have been asked to submit written questions for the candidates, and we have supplied index cards. If you need another index card, we will be happy. Just raise your hand and we'll get you another index card. If you have a question on an index card that you want to turn in, just raise it up in the air and one of our volunteers will pick it up. I guess it's Marlene. And questions for the candidates, they will each have 2 minutes. They drew for position of who starts and who ends. So they will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then questions will be asked in rotating order from one to the other. And those answers will be limited to 1 minute. And it looks like it's Charles who has the paddles, and the candidates are asked to please follow the rules and observe those. So we have here tonight Miss Abby Baker, who is candidate for mayor of Sault Ste. Marie, and Mr. Don Gerrie, who is also candidate for mayor of Sault Ste. Marie. And they drew, and Ms. Baker drew the first position, so she will have her 2 minutes to make her statement.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out and participating in this great event. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the library. Thank you to Don. Special thanks to my family, my friends, and of course all my supporters. Everything that I have done in my life has led me to be your mayor. From being a bartender, a waitress, an AmeriCorps Vista leader, working with our youth, working with our elderly. I have learned and I know how to work with all kinds of people. I didn't get involved with city politics because I wanted to become a politician. I got involved because of the way our city was being ran, or rather, what wasn't getting done, rather. It's been pretty stagnant, in my opinion, and I believe now is the time for change, and you can feel it, the energy within the community. It's not about how things have always been done. It's about what can we do to be better. And I believe it's time that we face the city's challenges with energy instead of waiting to see what's going to happen or waiting to see what the other cities are going to do and then follow suit. I am the candidate that can rally the city, the community, and create a culture not only throughout the community but within City Hall as well, that it's not about just one person working alone, but we as a community can do it together. It's important to honor our history, but we need new focus, new energy, and engage the entire community for the city. I will lead with principles, openness, transparency, engagement. I will work hard, and I don't have all the answers, but I do want the city to be the best it can be. And it can be that by matching our resources to our values, our youth to our elders, everyone involved, innovated.
Mr. Gerrie.
Yes, thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this forum together for us, and thank all of you for attending tonight. The attendance is phenomenal, and it certainly shows that you care about the future of our community. Special thanks to the city staff for everything they do every day to make our community great. Without them, the decisions that the commission makes would mean nothing. I'm running for mayor because I believe in the future of Sault Ste. Marie. We are experiencing positive momentum as a result of good governance through collective goal setting and planning by the commissions and execution toward attainment of commission goals by talented administration and staff. We've recently completed a mandated combined sewer overflow project that exceeded $35 million, and you know that from a lot of the roads that have been reconstructed. We were awarded a $20.7 million, largest grant in city history for carbide dock improvements, a $5.5 million grant for downtown improvements that'll start next summer, and a $1 million grant and $500,000 loan for the Sea Free project, which will begin next summer. And the list goes on and on. It does take planning, it takes patience, and like these successes, sometimes not taking no for an answer, and you have to apply more than once for some of the government financing. I am a fourth generation resident. I was born and raised here. My family have been laborers, carpenters, soldiers, airmen, entrepreneurs, professors, administrators, and more. But as a banker in the Sioux, I've financed hundreds of vehicles, houses, and businesses. As director of a federal agency that provides financing and technical assistance to individuals, businesses, nonprofits, communities, and Indian tribes, I've been involved in thousands of transactions. In the last 10 years, we have invested over $1 billion in the Upper Peninsula. And that includes over $93 million right here in Chippewa County and Sault Ste. Marie. I understand the economic development process and what it will take for the city to work through the enormous responsibilities that will come with the projects I mentioned above and the opportunities that we will need to take advantage of from a potential $1 billion SULOC project. Thank you.
Mr. Gerrie, would you please explain the role of the mayor? And you have 1 minute for
Sorry.
your response.
We hold that from you. Well, the mayor is one of 7 members of the commission. He only has 1 vote. He or she only has 1 vote. The power is in the collective commission. It's the legislative and governing body of the city, and it has authority to adopt laws, ordinances, and resolutions that it shall deem proper in exercise of all powers conferred upon or possessed by the city. The primary responsibility of the mayor is to preside over the meetings and to act as the head of the city for ceremonial purposes. The primary role is to lead the meetings, to be a positive role model within the community at all times, to be a living logo, to represent the city at all official city functions, to gain consensus, work together with the other commissioners to join them together in policy development and goal setting, and to communicate with citizens. The mayor is the voice of the collective commission. And like every other member of the commission, thank you.
Ms. Baker?
First and foremost, the mayor is an advocate for the city, an executive head of the city, a voice and a vote in all city commission equal to all their commissioners, and the presiding officer over the commission. What does that mean to me? The mayor is a leader in the community. The mayor represents the direction of the city, the energy, the community, the wants and the needs of the voters, and the values of the people the mayor represents. As presiding officer of the commission, the mayor is the leader of all leaders. You guys, I was born to do this job. I am the Sioux's living logo. I bring energy, excitement we haven't seen in our city's officials in years. I bring awareness and engagement, and the exact kind that has allowed myself and many others in our community to push progress forward. And more importantly, I have my finger on the pulse of the community because I'm involved, and I have been involved in leading the change toward making our city the best place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Ms. Baker, how do you plan to involve the residents in the decision-making process in the city?
If there's one thing that I've proven, it's that I can get the word out far and wide. Our job as elected officials is to act on behalf of the voters we serve. So to me, community input is the most important thing when making decisions. I won't simply use the basic bare minimum methods like the sending out surveys by snail mail. I will meet the voters where they are. I will get on Facebook, and I will go to community events, sporting events, fundraisers, be involved, and I'll let the people know what's happening in their city. And when it is especially important to provide feedback, I will not shy away from transparency, and I'll let the voters know when we have important decisions ahead of us. We want to make sure that we're not only acting in our best interests within the city, but with your input in mind. That is our job as elected officials, and I think I'm the best candidate to engage everyone in the decision-making process.
Mr. Gerrie?
Oh, thank you. I think the first thing that we need to do is involve the residents more. We have 24 city committees, and there are a lot of people on them. I think we need to emphasize and reward those people for their involvement on the committees and provide them some more training and recognition and some better communication so that they know exactly what's going on within the city and within all of the other committees. Our open meetings we're very transparent. We're televised. We have now a live feed on YouTube, and really there's no way that you wouldn't want to or couldn't see the meetings. I would meet with constituents periodically. We were down in Detroit a couple of weeks ago, and the Detroit mayor, who is the administrative person, which is different than our mayor, actually meets with constituents every week, make sure that he meets with people every week to talk about the issues. And I think that would be important for our mayor to meet with more constituents weekly. And again, as Abby mentioned, I'd probably use news articles, interviews, print, radio, media, I'm sorry. Need a stop sign.
Mr. Gerrie,
Yes,
you get the next question first.
thank you.
If the city received $1 million unrestricted grant, what would you do with it and why?
That would be a great thing, and I would establish a revolving loan fund because revolving loan funds can have a multiplier effect and go much farther and impact more of the community. Revolving loan fund is a bucket of money that you put funds into, and they're made available to entrepreneurs and small businesses for different development projects. There are a lot of examples across the state. They can be used for just about any purpose, and they're typically seed money for other financing. The repayment and interest replenishes the account, and then it adds to the principal, so it's a growing pot of money with the repayment, and you can lend it out again. Many DDAs and EDCs or e-development organizations have them, like Northern Initiatives in Marquette, who marries it with other funds to help create businesses.
Ms. Baker?
Ooh, $1 million grant. So with that, I would also invest in some sort of fund that could gain some interest, kind of like what we have the Sioux Seal and Osborne Trust funds in as well. But one thing that I would want to make sure that we use that $1 million grant is for waterfront development, which has been a major goal for the city for quite some time. And I can't think of much of waterfront development that has gotten done. Sherman Park, to me, is our biggest asset in our Parks and Rec, and with the ability to clear out the campground back there, make more waterfront space for campgrounds, an ADA compliant boardwalk. Not only would that be a great resource for our own citizens, but it'll also show tourists and people looking for a place to live the kind of community that we live in. And that also could help make Sherman Park self-sustainable, like our Ani Osborne campground, which we took over and we are actually making money from. With those two parks at full capacity and making money, I believe Parks and Rec can be completely self-sufficient.
Ms. Baker, the next question is yours. There's only two of you. This is really like, yeah. What 10 things in the city do you want to work on if elected as mayor?
Well, the first thing I think we need to work on is our policies, procedures, and our processes, and our committees. I think we need to evaluate those, go through them, make sure that they are valid, relevant, up to date. The committees that are established, that they are meeting for a reason on a regular basis. And also, like Don said earlier, be strategical when we're choosing these committees. Let's look for people with grant writing experience, fundraising experience, and maybe they could help with the boardwalk at Sherman Park. Relationships with LSSU, interns in every department, Parks and Rec, waterfront development, and actually working towards those goals. Housing, immediate and long-term solutions to protect investments and create opportunities for everyone to live with dignity and pride in their community. Jobs and industry, budget, identifying strengths and capitalizing on opportunities to minimize loss. Uniting the stakeholders, including our neighbors to the north, Lake State, the tribes. Youth-focused development. Protecting our environment. And I think that's it.
Sorry.
Mr. Gerrie?
Thank you. The 10 things in the city I'd like to work on would be first the citizen service philosophy that was started under the administration of Oliver Turner. And I'm just going to rip through these real quick and then come back and talk about them just in case I run out of time. Also, revenue enhancement. We have a blue ribbon panel which will look at different ways to enhance revenue that won't be as cumbersome to the taxpayers as taxes are. We need to work on community involvement, youth engagement. We need to get our youth engaged in politics and in service. We used to have some members of the LSSU student government committee come to our meetings, and also high school student government. We'd like to get engaged with the community. We want to become business friendlier and improve our roads and infrastructure through our CIP and asset management. We need to manage the lock project, outreach better, tell our story, education, forward momentum, prevent constant crisis management, and increase collaboration with our partners. It's hard to get through in a minute. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is yours. 2020 census is just a few months away. How will you engage the community to make sure every person is counted?
The census is critical, and what we need to do is inform our residents that the census is easy and the data is protected. We need to partner with other trusted voices and influential leaders who are committed to increasing census participation, and we need to educate the residents on the importance. The census count gives us how many congressional seats we'll have for the next decade, how $675 billion are distributed to local governments each year, And for every resident not counted, Michigan stands to lose $1,800 per person per year in federal funds. So we need to help the recruitment effort for census jobs. And we also need to create and join a complete count committee, which the city has created, and they will meet here Tuesday, October 22nd at 2:30 in the library to start the process of working to help the census count.
Ms. Baker?
Again, and regarding the 2020 census, I will meet the community where they are. I will use social media to get the word out. I will stress the importance of being counted in the census, as well as enlisting the help of our other community leaders to do their part in helping making sure that everyone gets counted, especially those traditionally undercounted populations like the children. There's potential for huge financial impact with a complete count. This info directly used to determine representation of our state and federal level, as well as funding and our service distribution. Think services for elderly, roads, education, public health, where job training centers should be located. Did I mention roads? I will be the voice that will engage the people in participating, make them proud to say that I am a citizen of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and empower them to use their voice and empower them to be counted when it counts.
Thank you both. In case anyone was thinking these were canned questions, the candidates were given these questions in advance. So from now on, it's blind news. So first question from the audience goes to Ms. Baker. Whoops. A recent survey of the citizens of Sault Ste. Marie found that a strong majority would like to have more access to the waterfront, specifically a walkway or bike path along the waterfront. As mayor, will you support more access for the waterfront, and what specific steps will you take to address this issue?
Absolutely. I think the waterfront is our biggest asset, like I was stating earlier. And I know Commissioner Talentino has a bike path goal along the waterway, as well as I have my boardwalk up at Sherman Park, where this is where I feel the community can get engaged. And we have a committee for everything. We have a tree committee, we have this committee. Why not have a bike path committee? Why not have a Sherman Boardwalk committee? And again, when choosing these committees, be smart. Let's get somebody with grant writing experience, with fundraising background, with marketing. And the community can help get done and be a part of it. And that's what it is. People want to help. They just don't know the how, the what, the when, and the where. And I will be the mayor to let them know the how, the what, the when, and the where.
Mr. Gerrie?
Well, thank you. And I think everybody agrees, and everybody stepped up to the plate when we wanted to do the Power Canal Trail. That was a goal of the entire commission. And just to clarify it, it does take 4 votes of the commission to make something a goal and something that we will move forward. So the mayor can't move something forward, a commissioner can't move something forward, but it does take consensus of a group of 4 of us. So we all agreed on the Power Canal Trail, and look what happened there. We got the patronicity grant, they fundraised, everybody stepped up, and we raised a lot of money, and it's not being built yet because there are some problems with the Power Canal, but it will be built next year, and so it was totally fundraised. And as Abby mentioned, Tim Talentino put a goal forward to have access to the waterfront down towards Ani Osborne Park, and that was voted by, I think, the majority of the commission, and that will go forward, and then the work begins from the administrative side. So, thank you.
Mr. Gerrie, you start the next question, answer. As you undoubtedly know, there are numerous empty storefronts and buildings within the city limits, both in the downtown area and on the business spur. As mayor, what specific steps will you take to address this issue?
The number of storefronts that are empty is a little bit deceiving, and Justin Nepper, our Downtown Development Authority Director, had said that actually there are not any at this point in time that are ready to be moved into, but we do need to take some effort on moving forward. The Downtown Development Authority was approved as a Main Street, downtown Main Street community, and they have been working very hard on attracting grants, and we've been putting a lot of emphasis on downtown improvement with the facades, the murals, the crosswalk art. And I think in order to attract people, we have to improve some of the buildings that are downtown. And we also have to make sure that the city is ready, willing, and able to work with developers when they want to put in a building and fix a building.
Ms. Baker?
Excuse me, thank you. So as far as the downtown businesses go, I believe we have momentum. We're getting there, the MEDC, the Main Street, and all of that. However, I do believe one big asset in our downtown is our Sioux Theater. Unfortunately, the city does not own that. However, if that theater was open 365, there wouldn't be an empty storefront on Ashman. So I really feel like there's potential there to get that up and running and to get Ashman Street back alive again. And the DDA and everybody's been doing a fantastic job. As far as on the outside, we need to be researching companies, manufacturing companies, and doing the research on what would fit well here. And then we need to be going to them. And we need to be selling our city to them. I don't see any big boardroom office. Oh, well, we're getting ready to move. Let's move to Sault Ste. Marie where it's really cold. We need to go to them.
Thank you. Next question is for you first, Ms. Baker. As the face of our city, what will you do to recruit and retain community members from diverse backgrounds?
Culture. We need culture. We need to tap into Lake State. We need to bring the older generation and the younger generation to come together. And I believe you're seeing that with our murals, the little lights in between the alleys. Those little added touches bring community together. And I believe if we keep engaging the community to come together with their ideas, to do little things like that, you're going to attract the younger generation. Our parks and rec are important. The younger generation wants apartments close to downtown. They want experience. They want paddleboarding. They want all of that. So really focusing on that to engage and attract people to move to our great town.
Mr. Gerrie?
I wholeheartedly agree that we need opportunities here for our youth, and I'm dedicated to getting more input from the community to find out exactly what they want. We do need to involve Lake Superior State University and the Sioux schools. We need to do more outreach as a commission and as a city, and we need to involve the city and the community more in public sessions to find out what they are looking for. We need to be a business-friendly community. We need to make sure we simplify all our processes, and we need to make sure that we provide the citizen service that everybody deserves. People will come to areas that they like. We've been working very hard for the last decade on placemaking, and placemaking is a concept where you make Sault Ste. Marie the place that people want to move, and then they'll create their own opportunities here so they can work from their home, they can look for a job, but they find the place that they want to live first. And we have lots of placemaking examples that hopefully we can get to in another question when the stop sign is not up.
Thank you. What do you plan to do about the pollution problem in the St. Mary's River?
Well, that's a great question, and I guess I'd ask what pollution problem. I know that there are certainly issues. We have some property that the city and the state and federal government have already cleaned up out in the Cannleton area, and I think that I know that the city of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario has put millions of dollars into their outflow process plant for their sewer system. And I know that city of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan does have a future project that we will be looking at to clean that up. So those are all issues. And if that was a hint at the intended ferrochrome plant in Sioux, Ontario, that's a long way out, and there's a lot of research and a lot of planning and environmental work that has to go into that as well.
Ms. Baker?
Well, one thing I feel we have not done well enough is work with our neighbors to the north. I've been on the commission for 2 years now, and we've met 3 times with them. Once was for a little meeting, and the other 2 times were for Christmas dinner. We need to be meeting with them on a regular basis. There's 100,000 people over there. Not only is their downtown struggling, maybe we can give them tips that have helped us with Main Street to help them, but also working with our waterfront and our environment, because if something happens to our Great Lakes, not only is Michigan dead, but we're going to be one of the first to go. So although jobs are important, and I am all for jobs, in my opinion, something like that ferrochrome plant, the risks are way, way, way too high over the gain. So it's really about preserving our greatest asset, which is our nature, our Great Lakes, and our pure Michigan.
Ms. Baker, you can begin the next one. Please address how you will make Sault Ste. Marie more bike-friendly.
Well, we could finish the bike paths. I know there's some that have started that aren't fully connected. We need to focus on, when we're redoing our roads, and how we can incorporate a bike-friendly, because again, the younger generation does not want the car payment and the car insurance. It's so expensive. So we really need to work together to try to, when we're moving forward and changing our roads and redoing the infrastructure, that we pay attention and we have a plan. We have a plan. We need to have a plan, an asset management plan for bike paths.
Mr. Gerrie?
Thank you. We did pass a resolution several years ago that said that we will make the Sioux more bike-friendly. And every time that we look at a project now, we will look at the accessibility, the bikeability, and the walkability along that project. I think that the Easter Day Avenue project that is a really good example of slowing the traffic down, narrowing it, and putting bike paths in. It does need to be connected to some more paths within the city. And that project, I think I saw the city engineer here, took several years to do, believe it or not, just to do a striping project, because it is an MDOT road. MDOT has some really stringent requirements on the widths of the bike paths, and so we're trying to work through that. And I know every time I go to another city that's got narrower bike paths, I always send the pictures to whoever the city attorney or city manager was at that time and say, why can't we do this? So we do need to get more creative. We need to put more paths in and connect all of these trails that we're starting to build. Oops.
I guess I need to be louder. Next question is, what is your opinion regarding a better working relationship with the Sioux tribe of Chippewa Indians?
That's a good question. I think we have a great working relationship with the Sioux tribe of Chippewa Indians. I've been mayor pro tem for 4 years, and as a result of that position, I'm on the liaison committee with the mayor and with the city manager and the city attorney. We do meet periodically and discuss many issues, including roads, road funding, 2% funding, and some of the other issues that come up. We have a very amicable relationship, and pretty proud, I think, of some of the things that we've done. Without the tribe and without their 2% money, you wouldn't see a lot of the roads in the city of Sault Ste. Marie being resurfaced. So they've been a great partner for us and to us. And with any relationship, you can always improve.
Ms. Baker?
I think we can improve our relationship greatly with the Sioux tribe. They are not only generous with 2% money and all those things, but they also, a new weight room at the high school, $25,000 to the ball field. They give back, and I have seen firsthand a lot of pulling back. Well, what do we get out of it? Well, what do we get out of it? And my thing is, all of us, Sioux Tribe, Lake State, War Memorial, the city, we need to get out of that mentality and just get it done. Let's all work together to get it done, because it's going to benefit us all. It's not just going to benefit one. My mom always said, you're only in competition with yourself. You bring everybody downtown, they're not going to just stay at your place. They're going to go here, they're going to go here. So we as a community, if we come together with our stakeholders like Sioux Tribe, like Lake State, War Memorial, and we come together to do great things, it will attract and it will retain people to stay and live in Sault Ste. Marie.
Next question. What is more important for our city right now? Building new homes and commercial space or rehabbing our existing homes and storefronts? And how do you plan to make your answer achievable?
Can you repeat that? It's a big question.
You have
Sorry.
1 minute. What is more important for our city right now? Building new homes and commercial space or rehabbing our existing homes and storefronts? And how do you plan to make your answer achievable?
I mean, we need both things to happen. We need new housing, and I mean, we've got some beautiful buildings, and I firsthand know how expensive it is to rehab an old building, and what we need to help do all those things really is trades. I can't get a plumber for 3 weeks. We need some sort of trade school here to keep these trades here, so it's easier to fix the old stuff, and we have more options to get things done. There's a lot of old buildings in the Sioux, but all worthy of getting fixed for the historical value. But we need housing. I think if the city were to pass a resolution for Airbnbs, make them pay the hotel tax that goes to the CVB, I think that might entice some homeowners to spruce their place up a little bit more, especially ones that may not be here full time, and it'd be an option, especially for when the next time I talk to you.
Mr. Gerrie?
Well, it certainly depends on the quality of the building and if it has any historic nature. We do have some buildings in town that just need to be raised and rebuilt. It's a difficult process. Sometimes it costs more money, but oftentimes there are monies available for rehabbing historic buildings and historic homes. New construction starts have been very slow the last few years, and cost of construction is a little bit high. And the problem is there were a lot of houses on the market, which is not the case today. Any way you look at it, I agree that there's going to be a mix of different developments. It's exciting to see some new developments happening downtown. And I think that the rehabs that we've had in the DDA district, we've had 4 going now, and I think we had 4 or 5 previously. And they're doing a great job and are making the downtown more attractive.
I have been asked to remind everyone in the audience to please complete your survey forms that were on your chairs when you came in. There was a pre-survey and there's a post-survey. And the students who are helping us tonight are very interested in your responses. Thank you. Next question. Mr. Gerrie, understanding state and federal funding constraints, how will you improve the budget spending to work on infrastructure, specifically roads in the city?
That is a great question. We get Act 51 money for our roads based on a formula. We have 88 miles of primary roads in the city of Sault Ste. Marie. And the other money that we get for roads is from the Bureau of Indian Affairs through the tribe, if we classify them as tribal roads. The other thing that we do is get 2% money. Really the only, I'm going to cheat on this question. I think that there are means to do that, and I am not an expert in this type of finance, and I think the new manager will take up this, and I can promise you that new roads is one of my goals to be introduced at next year's goal setting. And I think there are avenues that we can get more money for roads. We can ask the tribe for more money for roads, but the Act 51 formula is something that is a little bit stagnant. So,
Ms. Baker?
I believe our budget has a lot of work that could be done. I believe the mentality of us, this is how we've done things. And so that's how it's always been. And I think it's time that we sit down as a commission and really dig in the budget. The first year of budget session that I experienced, we did 2-year budget in less than 4 hours. with 5 new commissioners that have never experienced it. And it was quick. And it is not easy to read. But after learning and going through it and having more time, there is lots of ways that we can cut that budget and again, capitalize on where our strengths are and minimize our weaknesses. And I think that could help free up some money for roads.
Next question. We're falling asleep over here because there aren't very many questions. Can't imagine. How can our city participate in global efforts regarding climate change?
We need to work on recycling. I just took a trip to the Dominican with the kids, and one of the jobs that they do there is build bottle houses from trash on the floor, on the ground. And coming back home, I've never been a big recycler, and since this trip, I'm very mindful now. And we need recycling bins out everywhere. We need to be more environmentally friendly because the younger generation is more environmentally friendly. I notice it more and more in the restaurant when people ask for paper straws. But Gus Macker weekend, not one recycling bin out. Not one. Bags and bags and bags. And there are grants, I'm sure of it, that are out there that could get us the nice bins to where it's trash here and trash there. We have some, but they're in storage. So we really need to work on recycling and engaging the community. There's a recycling pickup that I didn't know about.
Mr. Gerrie?
Thank you. It's a lot about education, and it's a topic that we don't talk about very much. But and I'm in agreement with Abby. Our recycling program could improve. The Chippewa County Recycling Center does a fantastic job and has capacity for more recycling, and it's something that we could improve upon. I know that my family recycles a lot, but as we have traveled through Canada, every hotel that you go to and every restaurant that you go to has recycled bins and garbage bins. And from what I hear, they get fined if you throw recycling into the garbage. I'm not recommending that, but I think we could be a little bit better stewards of that. And I know from within the city of Sault Ste. Marie, we do have a recycle program and do everything that we can to be better stewards.
Thank you. Next question. Give a specific example of how you have gained consensus during your commission years to achieve your goals.
We have, as I mentioned earlier, the goal setting process is kind of fun. We bring in goals to the process, and then all of the commission votes on them, and anything that gets 4 votes or more goes forward. So it's a consensus building opportunity. A couple of the goals that I'm most proud of are the economic gardening goal that has actually turned into a best practice of the city to be better at attracting, keeping businesses happy. But the other one is the U.S. Coast Guard Integration Committee. And I had to bring the information to our commission and talk about what the idea was, which had never been done or discussed before. And it did get the votes, and we've gone forward. And when our city manager left, he said that committee was probably one of the most heartwarming that he had been involved with.
Ms. Baker?
Can you repeat it again?
Give a specific example of how you have gained consensus during your commission years to achieve your goals.
Well, I've had a rough time on the commission getting consensus. However, I've been able to achieve my goals that I've set forth through the people. I had a goal. The only reason I'm a commissioner is because there was a broken bleacher up at Canisto Field for 3 years that I complained about that never got fixed. It was very dangerous for a toddler, very upsetting, and my softball team said, run because we're sick of listening to you. And I did. And then that next year, it was still there. So I would just send a photo. And finally, I was like, if it's still here, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to take it. And then the next week I came, brand new bleacher. Couldn't believe it. I thought they were just going to replace the one. But it wasn't, brand new bleacher, but it was in storage. And then shortly after that, after I did a video with Jim Lahaki, and we were going to show it on the commission meeting, which we ended up doing, but all the playground equipment that was old and rusted and dangerous got pulled out. But I do that with the will of the people.
Next question. Is our 2-year budget cycle a good thing? What are your thoughts on the budget cycle?
I believe a 2-year budget cycle is good because things change so quickly. Something might happen that you need to allocate more money for. So it's good to take a look at it every 2 years and see where you're at and see where you're going.
Mr. Gerrie?
Hard to pull a minute out of that. Yes, it's a great thing. It's something that the city had talked about for a long time, and finance director and city manager Oliver Turner finally had done the work to put together a 2-year budget cycle. What we do is obviously we approve our annual budget, and then it has the projected budget for the following year. So it gives us an opportunity to be able to plan and to be able to tie that to our capital improvement plan and any projects that might be coming forward or that do come forward in the next year or two, so that we can see where we are with our budget and whether we can make any changes to it at all.
Thank you. Next question. It's going to take longer to ask the question than I hope it takes for you to answer. My residence is outside of city limits. However, I own a business in city limits, so all of city taxes and regulations impact me. Would you support changing this so business owners in city limits who live outside of city limits could vote in city elections? And then the second part is, now we'll save that one. So, Mr. Gerrie.
I understand the concept and I appreciate the thought, but I don't know if it's a legal concept within the state of Michigan. I think it may not be. But also I think that you choose to live in a certain area, and that would be the area that you are voting in. That would prevent people that have 45 different pieces of property from voting and impacting areas that they do not have a vested interest in living in. They could have a parking lot or some other obscure piece of land and vote in that area's elections. So no, I don't think it's legal, and no, I probably would not support that.
Ms. Baker?
Yeah, I don't believe it is legal. I would support it though. I believe our business owners work hard and tirelessly, and I believe their voice should be heard. I mean, the taxes that our business owners pay are astronomical. So I would work to fight for a change to be able to give them a voice in their vote. Now, a piece of land might be a different story, but a business, yes.
Thank you. How do you feel you can grow our city's relationship with our representatives in Lansing and Washington?
I will go there more than twice a year. I will get to know not only them, but their right-hand mans, their assistants, because they walk with 8 people, and those are the ones that are doing the scheduling and stuff like that. I will fight for infrastructure. I will fight for technology. We need 5G in that. We need 5G internet capabilities across the UP if we're ever going to attract young talent, whether it's a new doctor coming to work at War Memorial or just highly skilled professionals. I don't believe anybody over the age of 18 can not look at their phone every 30 seconds. I think this is the longest I've ever seen it here in this room. So we really need to fight downstate and get to know them and tell them why the Sioux is important and why the UP is important and why they need to continue to fight for us.
Mr. Gerrie?
Every year we put together a list of our legislative priorities, and we hand deliver them to our legislators in Lansing. And Linda Hoth is smiling because she went with us last year. And it's a great opportunity for us to sit with our legislators and tell them exactly what we want. And I can't tell you how many times they have told us, thank you for putting this in writing. And thank you for bringing it to us personally, and thank you for not calling us every doggone day, because we have more effect and we get more response from that. On the other hand, I'm lucky because I'm a federal employee and I'm regularly engaged with our federal legislators and all of their aides. I talk to them on almost a weekly basis, and I also talk to our state legislators on almost a weekly basis, and I know most of the local governmental people across the UP, which is the region that I cover. So I do have good relationships, and we'll maintain those relationships, and certainly will increase the opportunity for the Sioux.
Mr. Gerrie, you can start the answers to the next question. What will you do to address the water and sewer prices in town?
Well, the bad news is those are not going to go down. The sewer fund and water fund is an enterprise fund. It breaks even. The rates are set based on capital charges, use, and the actual cost of the business. It's not a money-making venture, and that's the way it is. There are bonding issuances that are outstanding that will be dropping off, and that does change the obligation under the water rates or sewer rates. But we do have some projects that we've been deferring, and we will need to invest money in our water plant and our sewer plant. So you won't see rates go down unless use goes up, and the rates are pulled a little bit that way.
Ms. Baker?
I'm gonna get them to go down because I'm gonna get more people to move to the Sioux and get your uses up. That's what I'm gonna do. We need more people to live in city limits. We need to keep people here. We need to keep Lake State graduates here. And by doing that, we increase the population, our water usage goes up, and all your bills go down.
Next question. Oh, this question is for the audience. How are you doing on your survey? How many people have completed it? Oh, good, we're getting a good response for the students. Thank you. Don't forget to complete when it's all over too. Next question. What are your thoughts on the Sioux becoming a sanctuary city?
Oh, wow. I've thought about it, and the reason why I've thought about it is because I have a hard time finding cooks and employees. The younger generation, compared to when I started college, they don't work as much in the service industry, and it is hard work, and it's not easy. So yeah, I've considered that in helps with our workforce, because as it stands right now, the restaurant industry, service industries, things like that, I don't know where we're going to be in 10 years if we don't have people willing to work there.
Mr. Gerrie?
No, it violates federal immigration policy. We have $1 billion federal project coming to the Sioux. We have a $20 million federal grant coming to the Sioux. And all the CDBG funds that are downtown are federal in priority. And I would not want to violate any of those federal funds.
Next question is for Mr. Gerrie. What do you feel is the role of the Community Services Board, and are you in favor of using the annual funds budgeted for youth to be designated to capital projects?
That's a great question, and that's an ongoing discussion. Community Services Board is an avenue that we use to distribute $40,000 annually in program money so that Little League Baseball, Hiawatha Skating Club, Sioux Michigan Hockey Association, some of the nonprofit groups that provide opportunities for kids and stars, and some of the others, we help them out with some programming money. There has been a long discussion and a continuing discussion at that group level on the use of that money instead of program funds, which I think traditionally have been used to decrease the cost for children that are in those activities. They would like to start using some of the money, or maybe allocating different money towards capital assets, buying things for the field or things for the building. I don't know if I'm in favor of that. I think they need to keep the youth funding intact and address it in a different way.
Ms. Baker?
Yeah, the Community Services Board, I believe, I would like to see them work on bigger impact projects. I believe that Little League and other youth organizations can fundraise for their bats, their gloves, and things like that, but they need a backstop that's safe. You know, we really need to help maintain the fields and the areas that these kids are playing on. However, I mean, always give back to kids, but another issue is too, we have a lot of out-of-city kids using these facilities, and how does that weigh in on the taxpayers that are, you know, helping with that facility? So I would like to see the Community Services Board go towards more impact of a project rather than spreading it all out to 1,000 here, 1,000 here. Let's put 5,000 in and get a backstop so no one can get hurt.
Next question, and we're going to be taking this question and one more question, and then we're going to have wrap-ups, final closing comments by the candidates. And just for you to know, if your question was not answered, you will have time to talk with the candidates after you finish your survey. And please feel free to ask them the questions that haven't been answered or asked. What resources do we have for our homeless population, and what resources would you believe are needed?
We don't have much. I know Diane Pepler can take in. I know Sioux Housing can take in. I know the list is long. I would like to see a community center in downtown Sault Ste. Marie that services youth, elderly, and vets. And that would, like a one-stop shop for all your nonprofit needs. And I believe we could incorporate a homeless office there to where people can come and get services and know and get educated on what they can do and where they can get help.
Mr. Gerrie?
I think that Safe Haven operates still through the Sioux Housing Corporation, and I know there were some other centers that assisted, and I think the Diane Pepler Resource Center and some others, but it certainly is a need. And I was associated with the United Way for 15 years on their board, and I know that they are a great resource in trying to find opportunities that are available for people, and anybody that has issues can certainly walk into their offices, and they will assist them in getting to places that can help. Certainly a critical need, and we would do anything that we can to help if people come forward with issues to talk about it.
And this will be the last question. What is at the top of your agenda for when you are elected? And we'll begin with Mr. Gerrie.
I think that I want to continue our work to become a more business-friendly city and work with the Economic Resource Alliance to simplify and break down some of the regulation. I know when I started with the federal government, I told them, quit calling things by number, quit doing the form numbers. These are normal people, normal processes, and we are here to serve. I agree with citizen service, and I think that that's the only reason we're here. Also, we need to capture the opportunities that come with the SULOC project. We have legislators in the state who are senior legislators, and when they are done, they will be starting new and they will be junior. So we need to take advantage of the opportunities that we have with senior legislators, with the SULOC project coming, all the federal funds, the state funds, and the local funds that will be made available to us to build and be a sustainable community.
Ms. Baker?
My number one thing will be team building with the commission. We need to be able to work together. We need to be able to get to know each other on a different level outside of the commission. And after that's done, policy. Going through our policies, procedures, making sure that we're matched up with the state code, making sure that everything is relevant and that committees are meeting and there's a purpose for them. And if not, let's get rid of them. Let's move on. It's time that we need to adapt and change to this ever-changing world. Every day, something new happens. So we need to go back and look at these policies that were written 20 years ago and see if it fits us now. Because if it doesn't, let's get rid of it. And let's focus on what policy can bring in the new, the change that people want to see.
And we're now to the point of closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to address what they want to tell you as a summation for this evening and going forward. And we will begin with Mr. Gerrie.
Thank you, and thanks again to the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum and to everybody for coming. As you can see, though we have different opinions and approaches, there's no doubt that both of us are committed to the future of Sault Ste. Marie. Through my work, 12 years of commission service and involvement in the Michigan Municipal League, I've earned the continued respect of trusted partners across the UP and in Lower Michigan. In addition to local contacts, I have relationships with most of the UP city managers, our state and federal legislators and their staffs, and tribal governments that are built on trust. Often when they have questions about issues that are relevant to the Sioux, they already call me. My personal philosophy of service is the price you pay for the space you occupy was not just a campaign slogan, but it's a way that I have lived my adult life, and I've gained the respect and support of the majority of people that I've had the pleasure to serve with on the commission, at local banks that I worked in, and at various nonprofit organizations that I have been involved with. It's critical that we elect a mayor that completely understands their role, has relevant experience, can effectively work together, and will represent the community without personal bias or interests. I have the relevant experience, the appropriate temperament, and the proven leadership skills necessary to lead with dignity and create a positive and progressive environment. Good governance is a proven process with elements of transparency, responsiveness, equity, effectiveness, accountability, participation, and it's consensus-oriented. I've always been able to work effectively, gain consensus for my goals and initiatives, and have always earned the respect of my colleagues through my own positive, professional, innovative, and honest leadership style. We have a great community. We have an extremely committed and talented administration and talent force, and I know that they are committed to our bright future. Thank you very much for attending.
Ms. Baker.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters, Don, family, all my supporters. It's time, Sault Ste. Marie. We've had the same two mayors other than Miss Berna for 30 years. It is time to evolve with the ever-changing world. It is time that we attract and attain and retain people to live in Sault Ste. Marie, and everyone needs to be involved to get this done. My grandma had 7 kids. I had 4, or my mom had 4, and I had 1. And with that, you can see the evolution, and we have not changed. We've remained stagnant. But I am the candidate that can bring people together to create the excitement and inspire others to get involved to help us get the work done. I will represent the people of our city. I will also work with MML and connect with our leaders around the state and encourage them to come to Sault Ste. Marie. And our door is always open so they can see what a great city Sault Ste. Marie is for the state of Michigan. And I am ready to bring the fresh energy that we need. I won't ever back down from a challenge, and I will always listen to you, the citizens, the people of our city. I'm not a politician. I'm not part of the Good Old Boys Club. I am a civil servant. I am a leader. Change and progress are never easy. People fight it, they hate it, they resist it. But you do it because it is for the betterment of the community. It's not what's good for you, it's what's better for the community. And I know you only get what you put in. I will be the mayor that brings the heartbeat and life back into the community. And I promise you, if you vote Baker November 5th, I will be a voice for you and a voice for the Sioux.
Thank you. In closing, there are a couple things I want to remind you of. There are local elections all across the state on Tuesday, November 5th. Please go to Vote 411 in case you don't have the information about an election that might be happening in your area. Please fill out your surveys. And thank you for attending this evening and for being a very cooperative audience. I didn't have to get out my gavel. I didn't have to get out my...
forward to that, though.
I really was. I really was. I used to teach junior high, and I really wanted to be as mean as I used to be. Thanks again to the Bayliss Public Library staff for helping us, and also to all the volunteers that helped this evening to make it a success. And let's express our appreciation for both of the candidates with a rousing round of applause.